everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, we're going to be talking about 10 ways to stay sane and productive when everything and everyone is getting on your last nerve. I think you know what I'm talking about. There's that individual level where sometimes you just don't feel like you're getting on with yourself and you're just more moody and more irritable and everything just gets on your nerves. And then there's a next layer of everyone that we interact with. And of course, with interactions, there's always misunderstandings, not being on the same page, and it works right across the board. So whether that's with work, whether that's with business and people that you come across, whether it's with your family or with your friends, there are just certain seasons where things seem to be rubbing against each other and not in the right way. And then there's that next layer of the sort of system and society around us, easing out of lockdown slowly after a year of working from home, not having time with our families, not being able to travel, not being able to take the holidays that we're used to. And so it just feels like very new terrain and a very different landscape. So let's get straight into it. The first really practical and actionable tip is all about writing it down. And I'm going to give you a little hack that has helped me in the past. There's a website called Future Me, and it's really genius. It's free to use. And what it is that you can write yourself an email that you will receive in the future. Let's say, for example, there's something that I'm really wound up about today. Instead of acting on my feelings or doing something rash or making a decision when I'm down, it's actually really helpful to sit down and email yourself all of the thoughts and feelings that you're having in this moment. But what I find takes it to the next level is to say to yourself, okay, I'm sending this email to myself in 6 months' time or in a year's time. What would I want this situation to be? How would I want it to be different? And so you actually start to think about where you want to be that's different from where you're at, and all of the negativity that's in the current position that you're in. And what happens is you send yourself this email, you completely forget about it, and then a year later something just pops up in your inbox and you look at it and it reminds you of where you've come from, but also quite surprisingly sometimes it tells you that you've gotten to exactly where you wanted to get to. So I remember when I was practicing law and I was thinking my life could look different. I sent myself a couple of Future Me emails and it was so good to get them years later on, and you're like, oh my God, I've actually done the thing that I said I wanted to do. And the best thing about Future Me as well is it keeps a record of all the emails that you've sent yourself. And so it's quite a useful archive for you to go back and remind yourself of times when you tapped into your resilience and you were able to come out on the other side of a tough situation. Helping your future self is a really practical way to get out of this thing where you just feel like you're annoyed and angry with everyone and everything. There are other really simple things that you can do. So if someone sent you an email that's just wound you up, take a pen, take a paper, write down exactly what you're feeling. Just get it out of your brain and then toss it in the bin or start a little bonfire or tear it up and throw it. And just that physicality of that will help you to process all of those feelings and just get it out of your system. Writing is so important because what it does is it forces you to think about, okay, what are the factors that are in my control that I can affect? But also, what are the factors that are outside of my control that I cannot affect and there's nothing I can do about them? So I just have to focus on what I can control. It also requires you to examine yourself and your role in the situation. Is it me who's actually being the problem and what can I do about it? Is it me who needs to change or shift or do something differently? The second tip is to take a step back. Remind yourself of what you're good at and do more of that. And that's not an easy thing to do. Not all of us have that flexibility to be able to do that. But if it's something that you can do, particularly in your business, then I'd highly recommend that you do that. Because what happens in any job or any profession or in any situation, there's always the good stuff that you love, that you really enjoy. And then there's the stuff that you just do not enjoy doing, but you have to do it because it forms part of the whole. When you're in this mode where you're not vibing and things are not going according to plan, take a step back and do the thing you're good at. Because doing the thing you're good at will improve your mood. It'll help you to build your confidence again. It'll help you to see things in a more positive light. And then it means that when you have to deal with people or when you have to deal with difficult situations, things are a lot more softer and easier to navigate. One final point on this, do not use this whole idea of doing the thing you're good at and just sort of digging deep on that. Don't use it as an excuse to procrastinate, particularly when you're in a position where you just feel like your vibe is not there. Just be very careful about, okay, am I doing the thing that I'm good at that I enjoy because it will make me feel better? Or am I just using this as an excuse to procrastinate something that will make the situation worse? It's important to distinguish between these two situations. Third tip is about not communicating or making major decisions when you're feeling down. And to make it more actionable and practical, I'd say give yourself 48 hours before you do anything. So if you receive bad news, or if you receive something that you're not expecting, or if someone speaks to you in a particular way and it just winds you up, if you have the time and the space to just let it be for 48 hours, I'd recommend doing that. Because once you've had a couple of nights sleep, you've allowed yourself to process it, you've taken naturally a step back due to the passage of time, it just puts you in a better position to respond to that situation than you would if you were responding immediately. Of course, not every situation lends itself to that, but there are very many situations where actually you don't need to respond immediately. So take that step back, give yourself that space, and then respond when you're in a much better position. If you're enjoying the content in this video and you're finding it helpful and useful, please take a moment to like the video and to subscribe. This next tip is very closely linked to the previous one, and it's all about how you navigate those challenging situations. Because to be honest, a lot of those difficult situations where you find yourself being irritable and irritated with everyone happen over email, because it's just the nature of communication nowadays. And so I'm gonna share a tip that I learned from an article, and I'm gonna link that article below, that gives such a simple, practical way to deal with those challenging situations where you know you need to write a difficult email. This can actually be a video in itself, but I'm gonna try and summarize it. Remember when we're learning our vowels in school? So it's pretty much that, A-E-I-O-U. Or A-E-I-O-U. So A is simply about acknowledging. It's about recognizing where the other person is, reflecting back that you see that they have good intentions, and like you, they are very interested in resolving a particular situation. E is about expressing your own position. So you've recognized them on where they are and their good intentions, but you're saying, look, this is where I'm at in all of this. And I is about really honing in and identifying what is the real issue between us that we're trying to resolve. And that takes you very nicely to O. And in O, it's about the outcomes. You're really starting to set out, what do I think could be the outcome in this situation? Is this something that you see that we could work towards or we could try and achieve? And then finally, U is about understanding, and it's all about moving the situation forward. If you use that approach, it actually forces you to take a step back and to think not just of your position, but the other person's position and where they're coming from. A bit of a commercial break. The big irony of shooting this video is I shot it and it was done and finished. I was just about to take off my makeup, and then I realized that the sound stopped working and I just couldn't fix it. I think I had stepped on a cable which pulled out, and so there was no sound. So I've had to record this video again from the halfway mark. So it is so apt that I am talking about trying to stay sane and productive when you're annoyed with everything and everyone. But anyway, let's get back to it. In those moments where it feels like you're annoyed with everyone or everything, or if you just need that extra support, it is so important to consider whether working with a coach or a therapist is one of the things that could help you out. Now, I know and I understand that not everyone can afford coaching or therapy, so it's something that is available to some but not to everyone. At the same time, we all have people in our trusted circle that we can speak to when we need that advice and support. In the previous video I did about business connections, I talked about the importance of building meaningful connections with people at your level, your peers, people who are in the same boat as you, who understand you and can give you good, solid advice when you need it. In 2019, I had projects that felt that they were bigger than me. So I remember I was trying to take Janet's list to Amsterdam for our pop-up there, which had a lot of complexity. And then I was back to London, and then 3 weeks later, I had a 3-week pop-up in London for Christmas. And it was going to be the longest pop-up, and it was the first time that I was going to be working with a team. And so I was so grateful to be able to work with Jess Rogers, and her role was to hold me accountable. So as a solo founder, I knew that every week there's this person that I was going to speak to who would keep track of everything that I was doing and find out what I had done, what I hadn't done, whether I was self-sabotaging, whether I was getting in my own way, and just helping me with the tools and resources to get out of my own way and get all of the things that needed doing done. One of the great things about working with a coach or a therapist is that it can actually help you to establish where your boundaries are, but more importantly, help you to figure out where you should set your boundaries. And this is so relevant because when we're in those situations where we feel like we're pissed off with everything and everyone, it's important to take a step back and just look at your boundaries and think, okay, am I setting the right boundaries that can protect me and my time so that I don't feel like I'm getting pissed off and annoyed with everything that is coming in my direction. This is particularly important where you're just in that shitty season, or when it's like winter is here and you know that you just need to protect yourself and you need to ensure that you have enough space around you to do the things that you need to do, without people trampling on your boundaries. Now, the thing about boundaries is it's a really personal thing. Everyone has a different place where they set their boundaries. But the one thing that I think is highly relevant to all of us is that the last year would have really tested our boundaries. Whether that's, working at home and you're more of you than usual and you're all trying to take advantage of the same space and the same Wi-Fi, or it could be, dealing with people at work. People have been homeschooling, people are not able to travel or to have like a third space where you can just relax and release. So we're definitely in a place where all of us are feeling like our boundaries are being tested. So if you're in that space of just feeling irritable and annoyed, just take a look at where your boundaries are and work out whether they need resetting. One of the tips that I talked about in a previous video on productivity was this idea of a quick reset. And it is so relevant to this conversation about dealing with situations where you're just pissed off and annoyed and irritable with anything. The things that can happen, someone can bump into you, someone can be rude to you on the street. As Black people and people of color, quite often we face microaggressions, which is horrible. And what happens is there are times when these things happen on a day that is so important. So let's say you're going for an interview or you have to give an important speech, and you just need a little tool to help you to come back to yourself so that you can feel centered and balanced again. This is the quick reset. And there's so many little things that you can do. So when I was a lawyer, you have a crappy day in the morning and you know that you still need to be on your A game in the afternoon. You don't have a lot of time. For me, it was about plugging in my earphones, going for a little walk around the court building and just playing particular music, whether it was Beyonce or Kanye West, well, vintage Kanye, or whoever, would just help me to reset. And so you can train yourself so that an activity, however small, just gets you back to that place of balance. And if any of you watching this video have tools and strategies that you use when you're pissed off or annoyed or when you need to get yourself back to center, please let me know in the comments below. So if you're irritated with everything, one of the best things you can do is just to get moving. Yep, exercise. Of course, I was going to talk about exercise. I personally find it really irritating because what happens is you have those days where you feel like doing nothing, and then you literally force yourself to go on a run. And then what happens is you go on your run, you feel like absolute shit during the run, but you get to the end of it and you feel so much better. And it's so annoying because exercise actually works. When you have those moments where you just need to let off a little bit of steam, or you just need to find a way to just relax yourself and to release your tension, moving is such a quick and easy way to do that. And for me personally, I kind of know what sort of exercise I need for when. If I'm annoyed and pissed off, boxing is really good for that. If, for example, I have a problem or something that I need to solve, or my brain just feels like spaghetti, I find going for a run just helps me to untangle the spaghetti of my brain and just help me to think clearly. Or sometimes it's just as simple as you need to get moving. You just can't underestimate how much movement we used to do in like our normal lives pre-pandemic, how little we're moving, and how important it is to get moving just to maintain your physical and mental well-being. This video would be incomplete if I didn't cover very quickly 3 points that relate to physicality that can actually exacerbate that feeling of being angry with everyone and everything. Quite simply ask yourself, am I hungry? Do you need something to eat? Because some people, they be hungry out on these streets, and just a little bit of food will help things to settle down and feel better. Number 2, do I need a nap? If you're one of those people, I'm one of those who gets really affected if I've not had a good night's sleep. That's definitely something to factor in. And the third, for women and people who menstruate, is am I heading to that time of the month? I don't need to say anything else. That is self-explanatory. One thing that can really help is just a tiny bit of self-care. Now, I subscribe to the school of self-care is actually a deeper thing. It's about your life as a whole, the structure, the environment you're in, whether you're thriving, whether you're stable, all of that stuff. But now I'm just talking about the sort of top level of self-care. And these are little things that you can do just to help yourself feel better. So whether that's a skincare routine, or having a lovely spa bath, or cooking a lovely meal, or wearing nice clothes in the house to make yourself feel better. These little things that you can do to lift yourself up assume so much more importance where you're in that situation where you're just not vibing with everything and everyone. And so it's important to just take that little step to take care of yourself, because it always pays dividends. Time that improves your self-care and well-being is time that is never lost, because at the end of the day, it helps to lift your mood and to create a sense of positivity, which is a really easy way of getting out of that feeling where it just feels like nothing is working and you're annoyed with everything and everyone. So that brings me to the end of this part of the video. If you're new to the channel, one of the things we do in every video on this channel is we put a spotlight on an amazing brand by a black woman or woman of color from the UK. So in this video, the spotlight is on the Janet's List self-care kit. This actually started out as a gift that we did for the team at WOW when we did the collaboration with them last year. We were going to meet up in person because we'd all been working on Zoom and many of us had not actually met in person. And so I thought it would be really nice to have like a little something to gift to the team. And so I created a little kit, which I'll tell you what's in it in a minute. Let me just get the stuff out. So first up is this lovely body and hand cream from Born Beautiful Naturals, which is one of the amazing brands on Janet's List. BBN has been there from the very beginning. In fact, this product was made for our first ever pop-up shop, and I took one smell of it. Oh my god, it smelled so good, and I was like, this is the product. And remember, it was part of a 3-pack, and I said to Kadian, come on, this is the product. And it is a lovely soft cream. I actually tend to use it as a hand cream, and it smells of vanilla, it has hazelnut, it has rose oil in it. So this, I've cracked open a new one so that you can see what it looks like. But it is just such a lovely product that smells really amazing. And so the whole idea for this kit was that, you know, you're sitting at your laptop, you're on Zooms all day. It was at a time where people were washing their hands a lot, obviously because of the pandemic, and I hope that you still are. So it was, you know, you have a little lovely hand cream for when you've washed your hands. And then you have a little lovely lip balm to put on your lips when you've been jabbering all day on Zoom and your lips are dry. And then finally, Color Shot, who you know is one of the brands on Janet's List, and we've collaborated. We decided to make a really cute coaster out of this print, which you'll have seen on a few other items on Janet's List, so that when you put your mug down, you know, you just have a little bit of cuteness to give you a bit of a smile as you're plowing through your Zoom meetings all day. So that's the Janet's List self-care kit, which is available on our website. Like I said, it started off as a gift, but then we decided to put it on the website, and it's just been a cool thing with amazing brands that I like. So that brings me to the end of the video. Thank you so much for sticking with me and being part of it and staying in this conversation until the end. There's a lot more where that came from. I'm gonna post some links to other videos that you might find useful and that you will enjoy. As always, if you found this helpful, please like this video, please subscribe, and I shall see you in the next video. Thank you, bye.